Welcome back to my podcast. We're going to be talking about being your authentic self in today's episode, which is episode 5. So, let's just get into it. Why you're not being your authentic self? There could be many reasons why you're not being your authentic self in terms of dating and relationships, but it's not always useful for us to go digging deep into the why, because we just get really we just get deeper into analysing it, and it actually takes us quite often further away from what we're trying to achieve. But let's look at the benefits of you being your authentic self. So the benefits of being your authentic self is that, let's just eradicate the idea of women for one moment, is when you're being your authentic self in interactions with women in terms of dating and relationships, it gives them a sense of security, of stability and safety, because you are safe within yourself. Now, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, I know I've already covered in previous episodes of the podcast, but this is something that is really important, and so I think it I think it's due a whole episode for us to talk about. So going back to being your authentic self, I think something for you as a man to think about is, in what ways are you not showing up as your authentic self? Perhaps it could be that you are naturally someone that is very quiet, you like sort of geeky things, and in your interactions with women, perhaps physically in person and online, you're showing up as a man that perhaps, I don't know, for example, you may be talking a lot about politics and finance when you have absolutely no interest in those areas. So that is not creating any safety and stability for a woman. I know I talked about it in my last episode, where I was saying about how women need that safety and that stability, because when we look at evolution, she needed that in order for her to feel safe with her babies. And she is going to take her children away from any danger. So when you're showing that you're accepting of yourself, then it creates that safety for her to also mirror that back to you. So for me, being my authentic self is how I'm being right now. I, on quite a few of my stories on Instagram, I've had quite a lot of people say to me that I don't know, that have said to me, oh, you talk very slowly, you talk in a very monotone voice, which is really funny. And I actually read a part in a Steve Chandler book, I think it was in Crazy Good, where he talked about the fact that someone said, oh, your voice is really monotone, you talk very slowly, it makes me want to kill myself. And he responded like, yeah, I know I do. He took ownership of that. Now that's something that I take in ownership for. I'm like, I know I talk that way. I don't talk in a very fast way, really. I just talk how I talk. I'm just being my natural self. So recognize who you are, like really and truly. Like, I feel very passionately about that. Recognize who the fuck you are and take ownership of it. If you're loud, be loud. If you're quiet, geeky, then be that. Because here's the thing, is that when it comes to the dating stages as well, we're just running off hormones. We're just running off an adrenaline rush, because at the start, it's new, it's exciting, you want to be around that person all the time and all these different things, and really you're just running off those hormones. But when shit gets real and you're seeing each other for all the dirt, all the realness, all the true essence of that person, what pisses them off, what makes them feel alive, what brings them joy, what is like their weak spot. That's all going to come to the surface. So you're really doing yourselves a favor by just showing up exactly as you are in these interactions with women, because she's buying into a false idea of you. So things are going to unravel eventually. And this, I'm talking to men here because this is the point of the podcast, but what I'm talking about applies to women as well. Women, they as equally, all of us, it's about showing up as we truly are. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough about that for now, so I want to touch on something else today. So recently I had a conversation with a guy where he also wasn't showing up as his authentic self, because he was running his life, his today, his present moment from the past. And a lot of us do this, and this is something that, of course, I run into occasionally. And this is why I have my coaches to snap me back into action. And I also regularly coach myself as well, which has been really cool. And so this guy, he was not showing up as his authentic self, because he was actually, I could take myself out of it, which as a coach I always do. But he was being very rude to women as a whole. And as a woman, I could have got offended, but I could see that he was just coming from his surface level thinking. He wasn't coming from his true essence of his hurt. He wasn't operating from his hurt. He was, in the sense that he was lashing out, but he was really, I was just really seeing him as the hurt little boy. And because he was hurt, he was showing up as very angry. And because men have often, not all men, I don't want to generalize, but quite often men in today's society, because they've been brought up on this idea that men, little boys, back when they were little boys, they don't cry, they don't talk about their emotions, they don't talk about their feelings. This is how this has perpetuated in society and has been reflected into modern day relationships. So when you see a man that is very aggressive, so if you're often very aggressive when it comes to arguments in general, in particular if you're dating someone or within your partnership, then really it's a cover-up for a lot of hurt. Now, moving back to this example, is that I could see that he was this hurt little boy. That's because I'm a coach, and because I've had these conversations before, and outside of work I've seen it in my family, and I've seen it in guys that I've met, like friends and people that I was dating. I could see beyond that. Now, if I wasn't a coach, if I was a girl that he had met and he was showing up in this way, he would have been an asshole. Because he was being very cruel and really attacking and generalizing women. So she wouldn't stick around. She would just be like, fuck this, like, there's nothing that I've done, so let me just see you later, like, get on with it. Really, really and truly. And you know what? I wouldn't blame her. So this has slightly moved away from being your authentic self, but it has its purpose, because he wasn't showing up fully expressed. Now he's bringing all his baggage, his very heavy luggage, into his partnerships potentially. This is why as a man it's really important for you to connect with the feminine side of yourself. To look at anything that you're holding on to from the past, from perhaps the mother wound, things that you're holding on from past relationships. Perhaps you got cheated on or something, and you're carrying it into your relationships. And this is how you're not really showing up as your authentic self. You're not showing up as the hurt little boy. And the thing is that if you reveal this at the right time when you're deeply connecting with a woman, then she is going to really see you, and she's going to appreciate the fact that you have opened your heart to her and you've trusted her with your heart. This is something really powerful for women. I know for myself where a man I could feel that he wasn't showing up fully expressed, and he wanted to cry, but he was holding on to this notion of, oh no, you know, men don't cry. I instantly lost respect for him because he didn't feel safe with his emotions. And I therefore knew that moving forward that he wouldn't be able to hold my emotions in my feminine emotional storm. So, going back to your authentic self, if you're feeling vulnerable, if you're going through something with your partner, obviously this moves into relationships, but when it comes to dating, if you've experienced something in your life and you feel comfortable with this person, of course I would always encourage you to share that, because I understand that safety isn't just important for a woman, but it's also important for a guy. So another thing that I'd like to add is that I've touched on this many times before, and I'm going to keep saying it because this is something that a lot of men don't understand. Women can feel when you're not being your authentic self. It's like a vibration in the air. I've been on dates with guys where they're just very flighty. Like you can just feel that they're not comfortable with themselves, that they're just very in their heads, and they're not present in the moment. And they're just being someone who they're not. The reason that they're flighty is because they're being someone who they're not. So I'm going to leave this here because I've said a lot. Now, if you have any questions or if there's anything that you want to comment on, then feel free to let me know.